Hey guys, this is a market update. All of the data shows us that we're about to go into a typical bull market for crypto. New all-time highs for Bitcoin, the crypto market cap broadening out and getting larger as well. I'll show you all of that data in this video and where exactly we are in this current cycle, because things are about to get very interesting. Central bank rate cuts are coming, and so the market is trying to price this in. It's going to be volatile with, all of the data coming out. But I want to take a broadened out view. I'm on the month chart here for BTC. So what you can see is that despite the recent volatility, and yes, we got to a high around 49K and dropped way down from that, the month chart, and we're coming to the end of January, is going to remain green. Yes, a volatile month. The ETFs launched, profit taking, bidders coming back in and forcing the price up. The month candlestick potentially is green, which is important because look at this. That is extremely strong positive price action. And that is starting to broaden out the bull market for crypto and altcoins as well. You can see that this price, of course, is a huge support and resistance zone. And so, yes, some consolidation around here, some profit taking around here, absolutely normal. But if you zoom out, we are going through a massive recovery and accumulation for BTC. You can see that right here on the month chart. Once we break out of this range, if we break out, we start to come a bit higher, you know what's going to happen. So we can see that as well here on-chain data. You can see the clusters of trade. We have one here. This was around that 15, 16 level. We discussed that when we were down here, saying that that is a massive support zone. And once you kind of break through that, you can see we've gone up to this zone now, which is around the 42,500 level. Again, a huge zone for support and resistance, but it's that next level and we're right there now. So we're not in a bear market, we're going into a bull market. So that will be a support zone, consolidation, trade around here, choppy trade. And eventually, once everything is cleared out, once this phase is done, then obviously you're looking for support going to break through these. So a very important time. If you do trade, check out Bybit, $30,000 as a deposit bonus. Check the link down in the description if you want the details for that. We're at a very key point in the Bitcoin cycle, and that's going to obviously bring out altcoins as well. Once Bitcoin really moves up, then that's where you get that broadening in crypto prices or to the upside as well. Now, I recommend watching a video about altcoins. I did the last altcoin video because it gives some really important data about the two phases of a bull market. You have the Bitcoin expansion, the outperformance, and then towards the end, when you're more mature in the bull market, that's when crypto expands and outperforms BTC. We're still in phase one, in my opinion, right? So obviously we've got the halving in around April time. That's going to be after that, a couple of months after that is phase two, but we're still in phase one, in my opinion, right now. And you can see that here. We are under the trend rate of growth for BTC. So for me, anything under there as a long-term investor is just an automatic buy, right? Obviously price is a bit more expensive, but anything under this trend rate of growth, anything under here, automatic buy. So we're still in phase one, right? So prices are higher, prices are getting bid up. You can see that there's some volatility around the trend rate as there always is. You can see there's support and resistance around this every single time. However, we're still in phase one right now. And really, it's the central banks that are going to push us into that expansion phase. We don't know how that's going to happen, but worrying about that is irrelevant. It's the direction of travel. We don't know the extent of what's going to happen here, but look, they're going to cut rates and, inflation is coming down, which I'll show you. So still phase one of the bull market. You can see this for Ethereum as well, just bouncing along its trend rate of growth, which is the orange line, as the support level, right? So anything under here, again, still not that big expansion. So for me, still accumulation zone. Now, if you can see as well, which is really important, this is a bunch of altcoins versus ETH. So altcoins valued in ETH. So firstly, you have the Ethereum chart right here in white. And as you can see, it's a general uptrend, right? So very volatile and it's taking time, but there's a general uptrend here. And what you can see is around October 23, that's when Ethereum really started going. Okay, so that's obviously an expansion in Ethereum prices going into potential bull market. Now, what you can see as altcoins as well, obviously Solana is a huge outperformer here. You can see that, right? So it's the outperformer of this cycle for sure. Solana has a huge airdrop season, everything like that. So a lot of speculation there. It was massively oversold in the bear market, and now it's coming back. But what we can see from Ethereum as, the kind of alpha of altcoins, we can see Cardano here, Arbitrum, BNB, is that throughout the time when Ethereum was kind of gaining ground and starting to recover, right? They were still actually losing ground versus Ethereum. And so, Ethereum was pulling ahead of them. What we've seen more recently, this price action, is that they're still underperforming ETH, right? The only thing that's outperformed ETH so far this cycle is Solana from a very, very low amount, right? The oversold position. What we can see is that other altcoins are starting to gain market share back versus ETH. Now, this lot are still underperforming ETH, right, from a year ago, but they're just starting to claw back market share. Right? You can see Arbitrum is starting to outperform a little bit. You can see that Cardano is starting to recover here, right? So it's actually starting to make higher lows versus ETH. And even BNB, which got really sold off with all the FUD around that, is starting to make higher lows versus ETH as well. What that means to me is that the crypto growth is starting to broaden out. Risk taking in crypto is starting to broaden. And the market, right, other coins, they are starting to gain, and people are going further out on the risk curve in order to broaden out rising in prices for other altcoins. Remember, BTC always leads, right? Now it's like BTC and ETH lead, and then you get the other altcoins that are now potentially starting to outperform. This shows that traders are happier to take risk and move out on the risk curve. The bull market is broadening. The market is pricing in the first interest rate cut from the Fed in the States around March this year, which is around what I thought it would be. I made some videos earlier on in January that thought it would be around there. Now, if you have watched the channel before, especially last summer, when Bitcoin was like 16, 17, 18K, we were looking at when rate hikes would stop. Now, they actually stopped in July last year. And I looked at data that showed every single hiking cycle, and the amount of time between the last hike and the first cut is around 6 months or so. If the Fed cuts in March, you can see that here, it will be bang on at every other cycle, right? It will be 8 months after the last Fed hike, which is exactly the average of all previous Fed hike cycles. So higher for longer, if they cut in March, was a lie. We usually have a big scare before a real bull market, and that may come if economic data really turns south, right? So you have this kind of scary economic print where people say, whoa, there's this, this shock of a downside to the economy, and maybe unemployment kind of spikes up unexpectedly or something, and people get a bit shocked, and then people worry about, we're going into recession, which means stock market may sell off because earnings come down. And so all of that is, I think, noise, because we know that they simply have to print money and drop interest rates, and this cycle is going to continue, right? Stock market is at all-time highs. Why? Because it's just pricing in this monumental amount of currency debasement. Liquidity rules all. And as you can see, the liquidity index here is showing that we have bottomed out and we are going into the up cycle of liquidity, which means the up cycle in asset prices. You can see what China are doing, printing money, right, debasing their currency again, trying to support their economy. If you have a massive slowdown in China, that means demand comes out, which means it can affect Asia generally, which means Europe, very dependent on a lot of the Chinese economy, goes into a kind of recession as well. It's basically in recession, the Europe already. And so that can obviously spill over to the States, slight suck out of demand, and then you get this kind of slow economic growth. And remember, they have to keep GDP high, they have to keep asset prices high by pumping in the money. And so that's what we're going through right now, right? Is that potential rise in liquidity. So a typical bull market. So where we are right here, Bitcoin is pricing in what is happening in the real economy. It's going to be very volatile, but we have the halving, we have potential rate cuts and potential monetary debasement. So it doesn't look like we're slowing down, just like looks like we're going into an up cycle with Bitcoin's network adoption over time. And of course, crypto, the broadening rally seems to be potentially taking place as well. If you do trade, Bybit deposit bonus up to 30K, link in description for that. I've also updated the crypto investor course recently as well. Check out the new videos with a lot more research. I'll link that down in the description as well. I'm James, it's MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.